You're listening to Lighting Up Real Estate with your host, Kendall Lockett.
I love when brands reach out to me because they want to sponsor the podcast. If you've been listening to the show, you know that I'm a book lover. For this episode, I am super excited to be working with ICRA Publishing Company. They help listeners like you become self-published authors. With one-on-one guidance and support, ICRA Publishing helps you design, edit, and publish your book into an ebook or printed in soft or hardcover. Sell your book on Amazon.com and other platforms and keep 100% ownership rights and royalties for your work. ICRA Publishing has 4 different publishing packages available, and they're customized to meet your needs and goals for your book. With ICRA Publishing, becoming an author has never been easier. If your goal in 2021 is to become an expert in your field or share your story to inspire others, I have a solution. Transform your thoughts into a well-written, beautifully designed, high-quality book. Go to iCraPublishing.com and use promo code CANDLE and get 20% off your package today. Happy New Year. I hope everyone is well and safe. We are 6 days in and I can't lie. I am already lit and excited about what 2021 is going to bring. I am convinced that if we made it through 2020, 2021 is going to be amazing. So in this episode 21, we are going to be lighting up this year, 2021, with financial freedom through real estate investing. So if you've been on the fence and afraid to start real estate investing, this episode is just for you. You've been seeing everyone investing in real estate on social media and YouTube and HGTV, and you pass by those vacant houses and you know you could be doing the exact same thing investors are doing. You're just afraid to take the leap. Maybe because you don't know where to start or even how to begin. You just know you want to become an investor. Well, I have a solution to your problem. Keep listening until the end of the show. But our guest today is Rhianna Campbell. She's also a real estate investor. And after building, growing, and then selling a multi-million-dollar real estate business, Rhianna is now a real estate investing coach. And she is here today to coach you and get you off the bench. She's going to inspire you to become a real estate investor and get the financial freedom you deserve through real estate investing. Let's get this conversation started.
All right,
Hi,
let's do
Rhianna.
it.
Hey, Rhianna. Welcome to Lighting Up Real Estate.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Anytime I can get with another like-minded queen about real estate, hey, I got to put you on a platform.
I love that.
How are you doing during COVID-19?
I've been really good, actually. It's been a little dramatic having 2 babies at home and working from home. But outside of that, I think, my business has been growing. I think everything, because it's gone to a virtual platform, it forced me into more of a virtual platform with my consulting and coaching business. So it's only been beneficial for me. So yeah, so it's
Awesome.
been pretty good.
Awesome. Okay, so tell us how you
Yeah.
got started in real estate.
So I got started over 15 years ago. I started doing mortgage loans, and this was before the crash. So this was, when it was super easy to get a loan. Anybody could get a loan at that point in
Oh,
time.
yeah. I was a recipient of a couple of them.
So I worked with a lot of buyers and helped people purchase properties. And I worked with a couple of investors, and I realized at some point in time that I had more gifts than just mortgage loans. And when the crash happened, I decided that that would be a good time for me to venture out and look at other options. And so I got my real estate education and started doing some wholesaling, and that pushed me into other things like rehabbing and property management and working alongside investors. And so I got thrown into a lot of property management, mostly because investors were struggling at the time during that time of collecting rent from their tenants because their tenants were kind of suffering. And so, during the crisis, they just needed some extra support, and I felt like I was supporting them. And so that's kind of how I got started. I was in the Baltimore market at the beginning of my journey and moved from there to the DC market. So right now I've been in the DC area for a really long time. So I partnered with someone in the DC
Mhm.
market and then grew a property management business into a construction business, into a design business, and did some rehabbing. We did, I mean, all sorts of things. It was a big thing. It started off as like a little side thing, and then it became like a huge thing very quickly. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you've done the property management, the loans, the
Yes.
real estate sales, and
Sales
even
and
construction. So
construction,
yeah,
investing,
and
rehab to
investing.
flip, rehab to flip, rehab to sell,
Mhm.
rehab to rent. I've done those. I didn't even, funny enough, I started off in wholesaling. I didn't even get one wholesaling deal.
I keep saying I'm a wholesaler, and I still haven't done one deal yet.
It just threw me into
Mhm.
the real estate world. So just even starting with the wholesaling is what got me into doing like so many things in real estate.
Yes, yes, yes. So, what is it about now going into coaching that you like more than, I guess, all the other ventures that you can do in real estate that you've done?
Yeah, so I like all types of things in real
Mhm,
estate. I think the property management side of things, I think was the challenge of that was it's a very emotional business because you're dealing with sellers who probably used to live in their home, or I shouldn't I
mhm,
call them sellers, they're more landlords. So landlords who used to live in their home, who value their home, and now they're inviting people into their home to stay there and live there. And the dynamic of that and being the middleman for that situation can be challenging. So when you're managing other people's properties, you deal with their emotional situation and you deal with the tenant's
mhm.
emotional situation. And so being that middle person tends to create some tension and conflict and make things challenging. And it just depends on people's financial situation. Some
Yeah.
things can be easy to fix, some things can be more expensive to fix. Um, so it's just a very uh, ever changing dynamic on a day to day basis. I mean, there was drama every day. And I felt like I was constantly putting out fires. But growing a
Mhm.
business, and I think, property management had something to do with it, but just in general, when your business is growing as quickly as it was, as mine did, it took a toll on me, like emotionally, mentally, physically. I mean, the stress level was high, the anxiety was high,
Yeah.
and I started to have all types of issues like almost every year at the same time. Tax season, annually, every year, I would have like a meltdown. And
Mhm,
physically, my body was just like shutting down. Like, okay, you're not going to work today because you're sick. And I
mhm.
would just be like, no, I'm not too sick. And then I'd be like, no, I'm super sick. Like,
And
I'm
this is when you were
really,
a property manager.
this is when I was doing property management.
Wow.
This is when I was building the business into
Okay.
what it was. So every year, like clockwork, I would get sick. And after that, I realized that I needed a change. And I wasn't too sure. And, when you get into business, sometimes you don't think about the end of what that looks like. And so
Right.
you don't always have an exit strategy. And I didn't really have an exit strategy at the time. Um, but I knew that I couldn't maintain the
Mhm.
where I was like physically I couldn't maintain, and emotionally I couldn't maintain because it was too draining. And and then something happened and I got pregnant. And then when I got pregnant, and this is like my second child after 20 years, um, when I got pregnant, I realized like I didn't want to do it anymore. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't, have a baby and give my baby that all of me if I'm
Mhm,
not in a good place,
mhm.
personally. And so I knew I needed a change, and that was a great opportunity for me to pivot in another direction.
Okay.
And so I have all these years of experience and
Mhm.
in real estate, and I did so many things. And I was like, how do I use this to serve other people?
Yeah.
And coaching was that option for me.
Yeah, because
And
the
yeah,
first question that everybody asks is how? How? How do I get into it? How do I do it?
yes. How
How?
do I start?
How
Where do I begin? Like,
Yes. How do I know
yeah,
a deal? How much do I pay? Yes. So
exactly.
yeah, you're definitely needed in this. So what do you
Yeah.
think is do you find that's the biggest obstacle when you're coaching clients in real estate investing?
The biggest obstacle is convincing people of what they don't know. I think I'm living on the other side of financial freedom, and
Uh-huh.
everybody says they want it, but they don't know what it takes to get to that place. And
Wow.
trying to convince people that
Mhm.
this is what you say you want, and it's a hard road, and I want you to get there, and I can work with you to get there, is probably one of the most difficult conversations that I have, especially when it comes to people of color who is my target market. Like, I want
Right.
to help people who look like me. I want to help,
Mhm.
you know, mostly women. I want to help,
Yeah.
women of color. And I feel like one of the things that I did some research on earlier this year is like women of color are like the most educated women. I
We are.
mean, but they have the least amount of wealth in this country,
Mhm.
which is absolutely crazy to me. I was like, how can we be the most educated people and have the least amount of money, have the least
Yeah.
amount of wealth? Like, that makes no sense. So something's wrong and we're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
We're doing something wrong. And so
Yeah.
now, with my experience and what I've been able to afford for myself and my
Mhm.
family, and the position that I'm in now financially, I try to teach people what it takes to get there. Now, of course, not everybody wants to build a multi-million dollar business. That's what
Right.
I did, but that you don't
Mhm.
have to do that to get to where I am. But when I give people the information that they need to say, here's the path and this is what you need to do, they're just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you know what? I'll just figure it out on my own." Boo, YouTube ain't gonna do it for you. I don't care how much YouTube education you get. You need a coach. Like, you need someone to
Yeah.
guide you. And had I had that at the beginning, I think I would have been so much further along than where I
Mhm.
was. But I tried it on my own. And, I got someplace, but,
Mhm.
I think it makes a difference to try to work with someone and get a coach to get you from one place to another. Like, even if you think of, for example, Harriet Tubman was freeing slaves, right?
Right.
Some people tried to do it on their own, but wouldn't
Mhm.
you rather have a guide get you to the place where you want to be? Doesn't that
And
make
has
more
the
sense?
evidence that they've done it.
Exactly. And done it several times. I mean, that just, no, like,
Yeah.
no brainer, right? No
Yeah.
brainer.
It's a
But
no-brainer.
trying to convince people is the hardest thing to do. And, as much evidence as I could provide, I don't think it
Mhm.
makes that much of a difference. I think people are still kind of stuck in the mindset of, let me do it my way because my way is the free way. But the free way is not the best way. And, it's not going to get you to the place you want to be, at least not anytime soon. I mean, it could
Yeah.
take you years to get to that point. If you're really like determined and you're like, I'm going to get there, when
Mhm.
things get hard, you need someone to turn to and say, "Am I doing this right? Am I
Mhm.
doing this the right way?" And if you don't have that person, you can make some real expensive mistakes, and that could take you out of the game completely.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with you. I think what you just said about can you turn to someone and say, "Am I doing this right?" I don't think it's also I think very important. And I tell a lot of people that ask me like, if you're gonna about real estate investing, if you're gonna get into it, you have to surround yourself with people that you can talk to.
right,
Because if you're turning around to somebody saying, "Hey, do you think I should get this property?" And they're like, "Girl, I don't know nothing about that. I gotta pay rent, or I got,
right.
I'm just trying to buy my first house." Like, what
Yeah,
conversation can you really talk about in investing?
I
So,
know. I know. It's challenging. It's
yeah,
challenging having these conversations.
it is
Um,
very,
And I
it is
see a lot of
very
people
hard.
who could use, everybody could use the money, but I see a lot
Mhm.
of people who really and truly want to have the freedom and the control, and those benefits for their family. And, it's like, I can only give you the roadmap to get you there and help you along the way. But if you
Mhm.
don't want to commit to it, then, there's nothing I can do.
So,
Um,
what is a part of like the journey with you? So, would it be, of course, you got to work on the mindset. So, is that the hardest part?
I work on mindset every single coaching session. And, the thing is, we've grown up in so many different environments, and we've
Yeah.
had, we've our parents, how they treated us, the environment that we were in. Some of us were raised by grandparents, some of us were raised by aunts and uncles. The baggage that we carry with us
Mhm.
spills into our real estate business, spills
Mhm.
into everything that we're trying to build.
Mhm.
And those hangups, I mean, I talk to people all the time. They have these things where they can't get past it. They have these blockages and they don't realize where it's coming from. And so sometimes my coaching sessions are like therapy. I mean, I have
Oh
to really
yeah.
talk to people. I'm just like, look, I know that you're hung up on this, but here's your homework assignment. Do this one thing. And the
Hmm.
next time I talk to you, you better have done it. Like I have to like get to the point.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm gonna mommy you today. Today is gonna
Hmm.
be mommying day. And I want you to do this homework and don't give me no excuses. It has to happen because if you
Hmm.
don't do it, you're going to continue living within this cycle of convincing yourself that it isn't worth doing and you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So it can be really challenging for people on a very subconscious and emotional
Hmm.
level. So, yeah, so it can be very interesting sessions.
I can only imagine. So, do you do like a 30-minute session or a 1 hour session with your clients?
So I have mostly group sessions. So I have a
Okay.
number of group sessions that I run, and I kind of segment my clients based on where they are in their business. So I
Hmm.
have folks that are just getting started at the very beginnings, and then I have folks who are already in like the $1 million level. So their companies are building, there are
Nice.
going to multi-million-dollar levels. So I start with those folks obviously you have different barriers at different levels, right?
Hmm.
The concepts are pretty much the same and what you want to build is pretty much the same. So I have kind of 5 core things that I go into in each of the different levels of business. But at the very beginning stages, there is a lot of emotional hang up that you have to kind of overcome in order for you to just get started.
What barriers are you seeing at each level?
So at the very beginning, a lot of it is self doubt and lack of confidence,
Hmm.
mostly because you haven't done it before. And when you haven't done something before, you haven't proven to yourself that you can do it. And so there's a lot of, am I worthy? Can I do this? Can I charge for it? Will people know that I'm a sham? Like, know that I've never done this before? So there's a lot of kind of personal self-esteem that
Hmm.
comes into play at the very early stages of that.
Hmm.
Um, at the next level up, which is you've proven that you could do it, you know what you're doing to the fullest extent that you would know if you had a few deals under your belt. But after that is I've done this thing, and I've thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but am I really doing it right? Like, it seems like I'm not
Right.
actually making the amount of money that I thought I would be making by doing these deals. Like, why is that? What am I missing
Hmm.
from, and how can I get to the place where I'm actually making a profit? Because you do it, and after a while, you start to realize, and this is the prime example, and I love bringing up this example is like right now, flipping properties is so sexy, right? I see it on TV and I want to
Yes.
flip properties. And this is what I want to do. I just want to flip properties. Boo, you have no idea.
Ah,
You just don't even know. Like, you just don't even know. And so,
flipping
people
put me in therapy, girl. What?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's not as easy as it looks.
It's
And of
not.
course, when you watch a TV show, they're giving you an hour to kind of see like what goes into a deal that could take a year. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
these processes could take up to a year. Do you really think that they put that whole year in that hour? No.
No.
They did not.
People ask me all the time, like, I want to flip a house. What's the first thing I should do? I'm like, stop watching HGTV.
Yes.
That's the first thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Because if that's how you're taking notes, if that's your education, it is just not the right place to be. And
It's
so,
not.
I mean, so getting past that, like saying, okay, I know that you think this is sexy, but you just told me your end goal was financial freedom. Now, yes,
Mm,
you could build a flipping business and that could get you
right.
some money, but really that doesn't build up your wealth, right? Like,
Mhm.
you want to own property. Like, flipping
Right.
them is great, but you get paid just like you get paid from a job. So if
Mhm.
you're trying to go into real estate investing and you want another 9 to 5 job, yes, you could go into the flipping business. Or you could try to build wealth. Now, if you're using flipping to get you to that place where you're building wealth, then that's another tool that you can use.
Mhm.
But that's temporary. But I think when people watch these shows, they're just like, well, Chip and Joanna have a flipping business. No, no, no. Chip and Joanna have an empire. They are doing something different that you
Yeah.
can't always see from those TV shows. So, I think having those really real conversations and saying, I know that this is what you think you want, but
Hmm.
I'm telling you that this is what you need can be very interesting and
I,
can be
I
very
agree.
challenging.
Yeah. So let's talk about financial freedom. How
Yeah.
do you define financial freedom?
So for me, financial freedom is the ability to make decisions for
Hmm.
my family. I want to be able to make a decision. And let's just say, for example, I don't want to work today, like
Hmm.
yesterday. Yesterday, I didn't want to work. I just didn't even feel like it. I didn't show up. I didn't do anything. I took my kids to go pumpkin picking,
Hmm.
and then we went to the playground and we were chilling. That's freedom.
That's
Like for
freedom.
me to be able to say, I'm spending the day with my family and this is what it's going to be. And I don't have to tell anybody. I don't have to check in with anybody and say, hey, by the way, I'm not showing up to work today. No. If I don't show up,
Yeah.
you know what? It doesn't really matter. My to-do list is
Yeah.
going to keep on getting bigger. It doesn't like if I take a
Yeah.
day off, it doesn't matter. But I realize I need those mental health days. I need those moments where I'm not doing those things. So
Hmm.
one of the things that happened after yesterday, I noticed that my energy was really low. And so I just blocked off my calendar for next week. I was like, I'm not taking any appointments next
Nice.
week. I was like, I'm not
Nice.
doing anything next week. It's just I need to be able to recenter myself.
Hmm.
And when I feel that my energy is kind of not where it needs to be, then I need to like take some time off and I need to
Right.
like figure out how I'm going to do that. So next week is I can't say a full vacation because I had stuff on my
Right.
calendar that I can't get rid of, but
Hmm.
it's a majority vacation where I'm just like, I just need to not have to worry about certain things and
Hmm.
do some reflecting and, be out in the environment, go for a walk, just do different things where I
Hmm.
don't feel any obligation to be sitting in front of the camera and zooming all day long, which is
Right.
kind of what my life is right now. So,
Right. So why real estate?
oh, I've always loved real estate.
Hmm.
I've always loved, I had an interest in real estate very early on
Hmm.
um, in my career, and I didn't know exactly what that looked like and what I
Hmm.
could do and where that could take me. But I always had this love of properties, like property stalking, just, always looking at things like I like going to open houses and, things like that. But I didn't know how to make that a career necessarily. And I
Okay.
think what a lot of people do is they're like, I like real estate. I'm going to go get my sales license. I think
Right.
that's an easy path to go, right?
Hmm.
But I didn't think like that. I didn't think I wanted to get, well, at first I did. I thought, oh, maybe I need to get my sales license. But what I ended up doing was getting my real estate education. And that opened up my eyes to so many different things that you could do in real estate. I was like, wow.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
what is that? Subject
Right.
to what?
Right.
Like, I
So
have
when you're
no
doing
idea.
you're coaching, Rihanna, are you
Yeah.
having to introduce everybody? Because I'm like, how do they know exactly, or how do you help them figure out exactly which way they should go in real estate? Because there's so many ways you can make money.
Yeah. So a lot of, especially when you're just getting started, a lot of
Right.
it's just about starting.
Mhm.
Like I think it's hard
Yeah.
to get started. And
Mhm.
so instead of overwhelming people, because I think people are already overwhelmed because they've been getting all their education from YouTube and YouTube has been overwhelming them, right?
Yeah.
What I do is say, okay, what's the path that you want to choose? Just like how when I started with wholesaling. I
Mhm.
picked a path and I started walking that path. What that does is it just gets the momentum going. And once you get started, then you start to explore different options. Now, I started with like doing bandit signs in the street. I was posting signs
Okay.
and people were calling me, investors were calling me. Sometimes that path takes you to the next place. And it may not be anything of what you thought you were doing.
Right.
So you could probably go into flipping a property and then you learned, oh, from that process that there's other ways that you could have done it. Like maybe
Mhm.
you secured the property and you wholesaled it. There is just so many different options available,
Mhm.
but you don't know until you actually like start the process. And so just getting those first few steps
Mhm.
of getting started is kind of what takes you into the world of real estate. And then you kind of learn as you go along.
Okay, so Rihanna, if I was one of your students or
Hmm.
clients rather, I would say a student because you definitely have to be the teacher with me. So so would I be bugging you all the time like, "Hey, Rihanna, I just saw this property and this is the numbers. So what do you think?" Or do you have like a system in place that I have to work out or a checklist or do I you walk me through what to do and get my emotions out of the situation? Because of course,
Yeah,
immediately we see that
I
first
know.
property and know it's the one.
So I do offer deal review,
Mhm.
which is kind of separate from the coaching, the group coaching. So I
Okay.
do one-on-one coaching, I do deal review, I do email support, phone support, whatever like, my clients need. They just kind of reach out to me. Um,
Okay.
but there's a process that I teach, and the first part of it is, understanding your market so that you
Mhm.
know that when you see a deal, it's a good deal. Now, recognizing whether or not it's a
Mm.
good deal is a skill, right? So you have to
Yeah.
practice and practice and practice and practice to the point where now I literally can get an update on properties and I'll flip through the list and I'll
Mhm.
look at the zip code, number of bedrooms, price, and know whether or not it's a good deal. Now that's instant. And for me, it's instant because I've been looking at the market for so long.
Right.
But you have to get to the point where you know that you see a good deal just based on just quick, little things, like quick
Mhm.
things based on what you want to do. Um,
Yeah.
so once you get to that place, I think you start to understand that you have a good deal. In the meantime, you need the support along the way. So you just need to
Of
be able
course.
to bug somebody and ask somebody, like, I think this is a good deal based on the calculations
Mhm.
that you gave me and based on me putting this into the spreadsheet. This is what I came up with. Like, what do you think? And then having
Mhm.
someone kind of, go through that process with you.
So what would be the difference between you being a coach and a mentor?
So mentors, I think the difference, and I kind of use them interchangeably.
Mhm.
A coach, I say you pay someone, right? You pay
Right.
someone to kind of give you the guidance. A mentor, I see it in a way that you're not necessarily financially paying them, but there's an equal exchange of something, right? So you're giving them something in exchange
Yeah.
for getting something from them. Um, but I also realize too, a lot of mentors may not have like a set meeting schedule or anything like that. They might just say, if you have a question, bug me. But sometimes you
Yeah.
want access to someone who you're paying, right? It's just
Right.
like the difference of getting a babysitter or having your mom watch the kids,
Right.
which is the struggle that I always have. It's like my
Yeah.
mom's just like, yeah, I'll watch the kids, no problem. But are you going to do it every weekend? Are
Mhm.
you going to do, like
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
something that I have access to that all the time?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to pay someone to
Mhm.
know that you have access to that when you need it.
Yeah, I agree. I think with a mentor and a coach, in my opinion, a mentor is someone like, okay, I'm a mentor to, a couple of friends that want to get into it, but I can only give my opinion, you
Mhm,
know?
mhm.
Whereas a coach is like looking at everything objectively,
Yeah,
removing the feelings and all those things. Cause I can say,
yeah.
no, my experience with my last flip, I was in therapy. I did this. I fired my contractor. And then it's like, but if you were to have the conversation, you would be like, no, this is what you've got to do. Remove the feelings out of the way type of
Right.
thing. So it's a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah, and I have a system in place, like,
Mhm.
it's almost like a program, right? So you're working with me, and I'm going through the program step by step, and I have systems, and I have homework, and I have tools, and I have templates, and I have things that I've put in place in order for you to have access to the information that you need when you need it.
Nice.
And so that's, I think, kind of the difference. Like, when you're working with a mentor, they can provide the stuff that they've used. So, like, I have a
Mhm.
mentor, and she's like, "Oh, here's the spreadsheet that I used for my last deal."
Right.
But is she gonna walk me through the spreadsheet? Not necessarily,
Not
Is she
necessarily.
gonna make sure I'm doing it
Right.
right?
Right.
Maybe, maybe not. So it just depends. So
Right. Right. So what do you think the biggest myth about real estate investing?
the biggest myth. I think the biggest myth that I always keep hearing is, "Oh, I can use other people's money and not invest any of my
Yes.
own."
Yeah.
Um, I think it's so hard, and the thing is, and this is coming from, if you are, and this is what we were talking about earlier, you have, women of color who have a lot of education but really no wealth, then
Mhm.
your goal is to try and do something so that you can um, have some wealth, right? But if
Right.
you have no money in the bank, it's really challenging for you to get started. You
Mhm.
need to invest something. And whether you're investing in your education or a coaching service or, putting some money into your first deal, you need to have something. And I think people think, well, I have $0, so I can make this happen using other people's money, OPM. It's not that simple. And, when you are not having any risk whatsoever, it can make
Mm-hmm.
things a lot more complicated and a
Yeah.
lot more expensive for you down the line.
Right. And I think it goes back to even what you're saying about coaching, because people may not want to pay for coaching, but it seems it's a huge difference of discipline and mindset when you put skin into the game, because it makes you accountable. Like, no, I just spent this money for a coach. So that means I've got to show up,
Exactly.
participate, do the homework. And it's the same way with the house. You're not going to be so quick to walk away from it if you put no money down.
Right.
But if you're putting money into the game, no, I just invested 20,000 into this house. We're going to see this thing through and get it on the market. Damn
Right.
it.
Yeah.
This is going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, and I tell people, like, if you get a hard money lender, like, they're going to look in and see, okay, how much money are you putting down and
Yeah.
how much money am I putting down? Because we need to be at risk at the same time. Like, you can't have zero risk, because if things don't work out, how am I going to be compensated? So they're
Right.
looking at that situation like, are you a good risk for me? And are you putting money into the deal? And are you obligated to complete it?
Yeah.
They're, so, and if it's easy to get other people's money, then it's usually really expensive. I mean, you're
Yeah.
paying for it. So you may not end up with any profit because you've paid off all this interest and fees and, like all
Yeah.
types of things to even get the deal done. So I
Yeah.
think those are things that people need to recognize.
Yep. So comparing back in 2008
Hmm.
to now with COVID, are you seeing a lot of similarities
Oh,
or
yes.
predicting? Okay. So what are you seeing right now?
There's a lot of similarities. So I mean, and I think the big difference obviously is, one was specifically a real estate crisis. So,
Right.
2008 was a real estate crisis, which means out the gate, there was some disaster on the real estate side. Right now we're dealing with more like a health crisis and
Hmm.
that sort of thing. And so the real estate is going to be, kind of a side effect. The real estate issues and the real estate crisis is going to be a side effect to the health crisis. And so I have a lot of investors right now who are waiting for the bottom to drop off. They're just like, I mean, there are people who are just like, they're just like, oh yeah, people can't,
Hmm.
they lost their job. They had maybe a year that they could just not pay their mortgage, but after that, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
Investors who own properties right now, they may have tenants who are not paying their rent,
Yeah.
and they're not getting any relief, and that can only last for but so long. So
Yeah.
if we're in this crisis for another year, you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of foreclosures. You're going to start seeing a whole
Hmm.
bunch of short sales, and investors are sitting there waiting. They're like, I got cash in the bank, and I'm
Yeah.
waiting for these things to happen because I'm going to get some things at a good deal. Just like
Yeah.
how you can get some good things, like, in the stock market, there's some
Hmm.
deals going on right now.
Oh,
So in the
yeah.
real estate, there's going to be some deals that are popping off. So I know that people are going to be looking for some of that and ready to invest their cash.
Yeah. If it's anybody that's a landlord right now that they may be listening, and what advice could you give them if they have a tenant that hasn't paid rent, and of course that mortgage is going to be due probably at the beginning of January, I think, when all of them are going to be due. What advice
Yeah.
could you give out for that right now?
Oh, man, it is a struggle right now. If you're an
Yeah.
investor who has a tenant that's not paying rent, and I guess I should say there's two different types of tenants who are not paying rent, right? There's the one who knows that they're obligated to pay rent but can't, and the
Hmm.
the one who knows that they're obligated and just don't care and they're not going to pay. And
Right.
so, there are good people who
Hmm.
lost their job who cannot pay rent right now. And because of the moratorium, you can't evict them. And you
Hmm.
probably wouldn't want to anyway, just because, where would
Right.
they go? That's kind of a sad
In a
situation.
pandemic.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's challenging. Um, but that is hard. Then there are people who are just like, I don't care. You can't do anything with me. You can't evict me. There's nothing you can do. And I'm
Hmm.
just not going to pay, but I'm still making money at my job. Like those, there are those people. And so when it comes to those people, I mean, it's challenging. So first of all, if you are an investor and you're in that situation and you're paying the mortgage on that property and the tenant's not paying rent, look at the laws. The laws are crazy right now, and they're coming hard when it comes to landlords. They're coming
Mhm.
down hard, and they're just not giving landlords any relief. And they're
No.
giving tenants all the relief possible. They're trying to make sure that these people, like with the CDC law that just came out, they're trying to make sure
Mhm.
that those people don't end up on the street. They don't want them to be on the street. And so they don't really care about what your situation is as an investor. You have
Yeah,
to look out for yourself.
yeah,
So for right now, it's going to be hard. Come next year, it's going to be a mess. You need to have a good landlord tenant attorney in your corner right now, helping you through this process. So if you're not working with a management company, you need
mhm,
a real estate, a landlord tenant attorney to help you figure out what you can do and what the repercussions are for what's to come.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think after COVID-19, I think, Section 8 properties are just now
are
looking,
looking more appealing.
oh, they're looking sexy right now. That's all I see. Let's get a Section 8. I'm like, Section 8 is making the comeback?
Yes, that I think people are liking that. But see, here's the thing with Section 8, sometimes the tenant still has some portion of the rent
They
that they have.
do.
So you have your rent that you're getting, but then you have the tenant's portion of the rent. And if they're not paying anything, then
Yeah,
at least you're getting something. It's
you're
something's
getting
better than
something.
nothing.
Yeah, because the government is guaranteeing that money the first of the month.
Yes.
So no
Yeah.
matter what's going on, you still get a check. So, I mean, I think it's a good idea, but at the same time, it's like, it's whatever you like.
Give and take. Give and
Give or
take.
take. I've done both. I've had my experiences with both of them. Yeah, that right there.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard. It is. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think there's any good solution because you
Mhm.
can't predict things like this.
You can't. You
You just
can't.
can't predict it. The people who I know are not struggling as much when it comes to rentals are people who have multifamily properties.
Mm,
Obviously, if you have a single family home and the payment of that rent is subject to the people in that household being able to pay that
right.
rent, if they don't pay the rent, then you're 100% not getting rent, right?
Absolutely. That's
If
a
you have a
great point.
multifamily property, if you have, you know, 100 people, 100 units, then you might have maybe less than 5% of people not paying rent.
Yeah,
And that makes a huge difference in the income that you're getting. So,
absolutely. Rihanna,
you know,
that's a great point I never even considered.
yeah,
Like, they're
yeah.
just chilling right now.
Yeah, I mean, they still have their folks, but it's
Yeah.
like it's a lot easier to deal with like one or two
Mhm.
people or five, let's just say five of the 100
Right.
units are just not are a problem. And then you work out payment plans with them and you just do what you got to do but you're not financially suffering in the same
Mhm.
way.
Yeah, because you're
So,
getting multiple streams of income
yeah,
coming in from those each unit.
exactly.
That is
Exactly.
a great point.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about money, since
Yeah.
this seems to be the biggest issue with us, the students
Oh,
in coaching. So right now
I
we're doing
know.
a coaching session with Rihanna. And yeah, we have this jacked up money mindset.
We do.
And so you're gonna school us on how we can get somewhat financially lit. This is my financially lit segment.
I don't know if I have the solution to this problem. Oh my goodness.
Oh, well, this is just pretty easy, but just some couple of financial questions I'm just gonna
Okay.
ask because I know you deal with this
Yes.
all the time. Because you have to. Any investor, I still struggle with money mindset
Yeah.
and wrapping around. I have to constantly like say the affirmations and read the books and surround myself and all of those things because it's still a thing for me. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just made this much. Oh my
Right.
gosh, am I able to make this much in next year? I mean, it's just yeah.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress for me. So the first question, what financial book changed the game for you?
What financial book? Oh gosh, let me think. I think the one that stands out is Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert
Yeah,
Kiyosaki's book.
hands down.
Um,
That's the number one book everyone says on the show.
yeah, you know what? It's just one of those things where if you just don't I like the comparison between, his two relationships and, how rich people teach their kids versus poor people teaching their kids. And I think that experience exposed some things for uh, a lot of people who grew up in households where, their parents were financially struggling. I think the way that we grow up in that kind of society is just like this lack mindset. And that sets the tone for how we function in life and what we do with money. And
Yeah.
so that was, I think, one of the books that I read that was just really eye-opening, that
Mhm.
really exposed me to understanding some of the barriers that I have to overcome in order to have a better mindset when it comes to money.
Yeah. Yeah. So what book would you recommend to a client? Would that be the first one? Like you need to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, or
That
is there
is one of the yeah, I definitely recommend that one to clients. That one's really good because it's simple
yeah.
and easy to read and pretty quick, and you get the gist of it very early on.
Yeah.
So I think that one's usually one of the first ones I recommend.
Okay, so what are your 5 rules for real estate investing?
My 5 rules.
Or do you have principles or
I have like core elements that I go into when I teach, which is not, it's not really rules per se. It's like, so we have, when you're building any type of real estate business, and
Mhm.
this is, if you want to flip properties or wholesale or whatever, I think the first thing to think about is like, it's a business. This is a business
Yeah.
and you are doing it as an entrepreneur. And so you need to shift your mindset to be an entrepreneur and what that looks like, and how you approach it. So I have 5 core elements that I teach when it comes to business. And the first one is that what you want out of it matters. So what's your goal? What do you want to do? How do you want to, what do you want to get out of the whole process? And what role do you want to play in that process? What
Mhm.
role do you want to play as a real estate investor or a real estate entrepreneur? Because that's going to set the tone for everything else. And the second one is, what's your purpose? What's your long-term goals? Like, what do you kind of see for yourself long term? So if you could take this business to 10, 20 years, like, what do you want to get? What's your goal? Like, what are you aiming for? And that's really important because when things get hard in your real estate business, you need to make sure that you're on track. And it's
Mhm.
hard to know that you're on track if you don't know exactly what you're aiming for. So, the purpose is really important. The third is finances. You need to understand your personal finances and you need to understand how money works. You need to understand what banks are looking at when they're looking at your money. You
Mhm.
need to understand all of those things, and that's really important. So you need to understand the dynamics of how money flows and what people are looking for. Because if you can't manage your own money, you can't manage business money. Like it's the same thing, right? The same
Yeah.
reason why people win the lottery and they're still broke the next day. They
Yeah.
don't know how to manage money. And so we have to teach ourselves, we have to get an education on teaching ourselves how to manage our own personal money first and
Mhm.
then managing business money. And you can't get to multi-million dollar levels if you don't know how to do that. So that's
Yeah.
like really important. The fourth is working with people, and it's a team sport and not a solo sport. And
Ooh,
I think
yes.
understanding that is really important. Like, one of the renovations that I did, I mean, I it was a huge undertaking. I needed a structural engineer and an architect. I needed an expediter. I needed, my contractors. I needed a whole bunch of subcontractors. Like, I needed so many people. I needed an attorney. I needed my banker. I needed my lender. I needed so many people, and
Mhm.
if I didn't have all those people in place, it would be challenging. And so
Yeah.
even though I'm the one doing the deal, everybody's working with you for you to succeed, and you need to have a team around you in order to
Yeah.
do that. So when you're just getting started, even though you think of yourself as a solopreneur, you're not doing it alone, and you shouldn't be doing it alone. You should definitely have a team of people that you need to put in place for that.
Mhm.
Um, and the last thing is, your end user, right? So if you're flipping property, then your end user is someone who's going to buy the property. And if you are wholesaling, your end user is the investor. If you
Right.
are um, purchasing properties for rentals, then your end user are tenants. And you need to understand who those people are and what they want. Because if you
That's
don't
dope.
know, you can't succeed. So, like,
Yeah.
those are your customers. Those are the people who you need to be aiming for. So you can't and I always bring up this example. It's like I love going to open houses, and I went to this
Mhm.
this flipped property, and it was actually a property I thought about buying. And So I went in there after they did the renovation, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, really nice family home. And I walked into the kitchen, and for whatever reason, this is trend right now that you put the microwave under the kitchen countertop, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I have my 2 children, right? So this is a family home, and I walk in with my 2 kids, and they're gonna be pushing these buttons on the microwave all
Mhm.
day long. That doesn't make any sense, especially if like you have an open concept everything, which means
Right.
your living room's open, your dining room's everything's open. So there's no restricting the kids from getting into the kitchen, and there's no restricting them from touching all the buttons on the microwave. So
Right.
that is such a trend, but if you
Mhm.
don't know who you're selling to, like that's a trend for a single person who's living in a condo,
Right.
not a family who has more than likely young children and a dog. Like that doesn't make sense. And so
Yeah.
if you don't know your end user and what they need and what they want, then you're just creating what you think that they want based on
Yeah.
what the trends are, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to work for them.
Yeah.
And that could be a deal breaker for them. That could be something like, well, I can't have that in my house. Like that's not going to work
Mhm.
for me. And that could limit your market, which you don't want to do. So,
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is like the biggest, or have you heard of maybe a phenomenal end goal with real estate investing?
a phenomenal angle.
Or like, because I'm pretty sure like when you meet with your clients and you ask them like, what is your end goal with this?
So I so as far as like the end goal or as far as like how you do your real estate business.
Well, I guess like the long term, like I want to retire with this much in real
Mm,
estate or this much money. Like how
mhm.
big is that dream that someone has told you?
So I think it just depends on where you are personally. Some people, and what I tell people is, financial freedom. When I say financial freedom, it's a number, right? It's
Yeah.
the number that frees you from working every day.
Mhm.
And once you're freed from working every day, then you can do whatever you want to do after that. Now, you may choose to go into real estate investing as a career or a job or something that you want to do. But once you hit that number, you technically don't need to be doing anything. You can just think about your passions and the things that you want to do.
Okay.
So now, if you decide, okay, I want to go into real estate investing full time, this is what I want to keep doing. I want to still keep building my empire. I still want to, I want to own multifamily properties. I want to get into commercial properties. Like I want to build this thing because I have this
Mhm.
desire to do that. Then be nimble. Like explore all types. I mean, there's so many different things that you can
Yeah.
do in real estate, and that requires you to network with people who are in real estate doing the things that you kind of see them doing and want to do. So being part of associations or groups or anything that you can be a part of so that you can kind of uh, work with those people or meet those people or ask them questions and be in an environment that is uplifting and have people that are doing some of the things that you want to be doing, I think is really important if you want to keep growing when it comes to real estate investing. And there aren't a ton of people who look like us. Like there's not a ton of people in color that are in like they're not a ton of associations or those kind of environments where you can be. So if you find them, they're great. I
Yeah.
mean, right now everyone's online, which is great, right? So
Yeah.
you can find those little pockets all over the place,
Mhm.
but they may not be local. So you may not be able to, rub elbows with a lot of those people. But there are a ton of different, like, groups or associations or different organizations that you can kind of be a part of so that you can learn different things because there's so many things to learn.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, Rihanna, what's your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is to I see myself building a global empire, and I wanna be a global entrepreneur. When I say global, I mean,
Nice.
I kind of work with people in different countries already. So I have coaching clients in other countries and, like, Africa and things like that. But I see it as a bigger thing. So when I think of, like, my kids and the legacy that I leave for them, I want them to feel like global citizens. I want them to feel like they can go to different places in this world and feel like it's just as home as everything else, and they can do business in other countries, and they can just be exposed to different cultures. Like, I want them to feel like they're not just from and this is from, like, my personal experience, like,
Mhm.
I was born and raised in Maryland. I feel like a Marylander in the United States. I feel like I'm in this small
Yeah.
little bubble, small little pocket. And I haven't really been exposed to a lot outside of this
Mhm.
area. And I don't want that for them. I want them to feel like, tomorrow we're going to Africa. Like that's just a thing. Tomorrow, or, we're
And you can
going
stay
to,
long term because you have
yeah,
money coming in. So
yeah, we have money coming in. But then on top of that, it's just like, I like doing online coaching primarily because I could take my clients with me anywhere I go. So it doesn't matter. I can take coaching calls from different countries. Like, that process will still keep going. But if I owned real estate and I was doing business in other countries, that would be ideal because then I can move my family and school them in all the different places of like what's going on in the world, and they feel like they have a better perspective of
Mhm.
people from all types of different places. So ultimately, if I could teach that, if I could do that and then teach that to other people, teach like global entrepreneurship and using real estate as a way to create this global entrepreneurship, that
Mhm.
would be kind of my ultimate goal. That's like my if I can build financial freedom and say, okay, my goal is to get you to financial freedom, but
Mhm.
not just on a local level, on a global level.
Yeah.
That's my big dream.
Nice. So
Yeah.
Rihanna, if people want to reach out to you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you wanna reach out to me, you can email me. That's usually the best way to get in touch with me because 'cause I'm always kind of on the move. So you can email Rhianna, Rhianna, at properplanning.realestate. And shoot me an email, shoot me a message, or you can find me on Facebook as well. I'm on Facebook at Rhianna Campbell Worldwide, and you can reach me that way.
Yeah, and we'll have your information on the website as well.
Yeah, awesome. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for just being a light and sharing some knowledge with us.
Thank you. This was awesome. I
It
really
was
appreciate
awesome. And anytime you want to come back, you are welcome because you have so much knowledge and insight that I hadn't even
I could just
considered.
go on and on and
I know. I know. Me too.
on.
If you want to know more about Rihanna and would like to work with her, just go to our website, lightinguprealestate.com, to get more information. So at the beginning of the show, I offered you a solution that can help you get started as a real estate investor. I want to invite you personally into a community with other aspiring real estate investors where you will create and build your real estate investing business from scratch and learn how to invest in real estate. Join us at Candle U. Use the link in the show notes to learn more. For my listeners, I have a special offer in the month of January to join. Save 10% off the one-time membership of $299 just by using promo code LIT, L-I-T. If you have any questions, send me an email. I can't wait to see you inside Candle U. That's all for now. Stay safe, stay sane, and stay lit.